Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Nice to see you again. We're back on Mega Tank. So last video was all about getting the framing finished. It's finished. So now we need to get the plywood up. The plywood is the bit that's going to give the last element of rigidity. Rigidity, is that a word? Last element of rigidity to the tanks. It's going to stop any little movements that we've got going, as well as something to start waterproofing. I've got these sheets of plywood. This is 18mm plywood, just like the base of the tank, but these are 8 by 4 foot sheets, and obviously I need to cut them down a little bit to be able to fit them in, so we'll take them outside and we'll do that. So this is the first sunny day we've had in days, if not weeks, so it's the first chance I've been able to get out here to do some cutting because I've not got enough space in there to do it. So I've measured up what I need to cut off, just in case of cutting it. If this is the last time I see my fingers, it's been nice having you. So in theory, one more cut and that should fit nicely as the back panel of the aquarium. We shall see. So, well, this is totally possible to build on your own. I've done this all on my own so far. I would definitely recommend having more friends because everything's very heavy. So this would be a very easy job with 2 people, but with 1 person it's a bit of a faff. And to be completely honest, I'm surprised I haven't broken more things yet, but you know, touch wood. This bit, I've got the plywood cut in, it's pretty tight. The other bit of plywood is going to overlap here, so it doesn't have to be squeezed in, but I'm just going to make a mark at the top of each one where I've got a strut that I can connect into. And then it's just a case of putting screws in, and away we go. So these screws are really just to keep everything in place. They're not structural at this point. If anything, it's the weight of the water is going to be what keeps everything pushed out as far as it will do. So the screws are just to keep everything in place while we finish everything off. And obviously when it gets to the waterproofing stage, I don't want things slipping around. If I do use the liquid rubber, it should be able to cope with a little bit of flexibility, but I really don't want any. So just get everything in place is kind of the key bit that we're concentrating on now. But ain't half boring screwing in loads of screws. I'm trying to make sure everything's countersunk a little bit because I'm going to go in and fill all these screw holes with some wood filler. Because again, I don't want to be liquid rubbering on top of screw holes. Right, well, we've got all the plywood done now, all the framing's done, all the plywood's done. The last job to do before we think about waterproofing is filler. So I'm going to go over all the screw holes and all the seams, so where the 2 bits of plywood meet. I'm going to use does what it says on the tin, Ronseal wood filler. And just basically go around all the seams, make sure that there's no gaps, everything's sealed as much as it can be before we apply the actual waterproofing stuff. So that's the filler, covering all the screw holes, done all the seams, joints. It's very rough at the moment, I'll go in and sand it down after that. But yeah, it's fairly easy to do. It's like a 2-part wood filler. I've used it before. It's a bit sticky to work with, as in, look at my hands, that's after washing them several times. But you can put in a dod of filler, a little bit of hardener, it cures in about half an hour, and we can sand it down, and it's strong as a rock. Well, wood, I suppose. So for waterproofing, we've gone for this stuff, liquid rubber. There was a million decisions to make over what. In the end, it was just a case of going through all the comments and reviews of all the various different options. So things like pond armour, pond shield rather, various other options that people suggested in the comments in the live stream. So thank you very much for that. But it was a question of cost and a question of, will it do the job? Okay, it might not be the best at the job, but if it works, it works. So this, if my calculations are correct, and if we've learned anything, my calculations often are not correct, but if they are correct, this should do the entire tank and have some left over. A lot of the concerns about, oh, this doesn't work with silicone, you can't use silicone to actually bond your glass, so the glass is going to be bonded to this panel. But you can. What you can't do is you can't have silicone down and then use liquid rubber on top of it, because it won't bond to silicone like that. But once it's cured, silicone will bond to it. So it should work in my application. So as well as this stuff, I've decided not to fiberglass, which might surprise some people, but I always wanted to try it without fiberglassing because I think it can be easier and it should work. So I'm using this stuff, which is the geotextile by liquid rubber. So this is in place of the fiberglass. It's basically like, instead of chalked mat and fiberglass epoxy even, you use this geotextile, which is the same sort of thing, but you run it across the seams and then you use the liquid rubber on top of it, and then that sets and hardens. So this stuff will run across all the seams, all the corners, and then let that go off a little bit and liquid rubber. But that'll be in a future video. And in the next update, we should be in a position to start waterproofing and thinking about getting water in. But we've got lots of things in. We've got lots of pipe work has all arrived. So I have 90s, unions. Didn't ask for unions, but I got unions. Valves, overflows, returns, pipe work. It's all here. It's just a case of putting it together. So we'll end this video here today. And the next one will all be about waterproofing and hopefully a bit of pipe work. And then we'll see how wet we get. Thank you all for joining me. If you could, click that subscribe button. It doesn't really make a difference to me, but it's nice. Thank you. Bye.